Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, there's a ton going on, Earth changes wise. There's a ton going on, period. It's just so crazy out there in this world right now. We see a powerful quake hits eastern Turkey, 4 dead that we know of so far. And, here you see the only photo I see so far. It's showing a collapsed building. And so this one measured 6.8. So this is a big one. And Turkey is most definitely an active area. It's also, as I was saying to Cindy, it's one of those areas that I'd like to go and explore. Boy, we love to go, as you know, hiking through the mountains and exploring places. And man, Turkey would be one of the most fascinating places to explore, because it's one of those spots where people survive through times like this before by going inside the earth in massive cave systems that could house tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. And in fact, these cave systems are so vast, they don't even really know where they end. Some go all the way up to Europe. I've heard of them extending all the way up towards the UK. Just incredible. But right now we have this 6.8 quake, which has taken down buildings, and really they're just assessing the situation at the moment. This article just came out just 2 minutes ago. So, they're still looking at the damage. There are buildings down. This was a shallow one. They're giving it the standard 10 kilometers depth, which is 6.2 miles. And so USGS is calling it as a 6.7. A very scary one, as people are saying. We'll know more a little bit later as to how bad this one is, but currently at least 4 dead. And they're going through and checking most definitely to see for what survivors they could find. Now we had a 6.2 quake that hit off of near Tanaga volcano in Alaska. Things are most definitely picking up around the globe. We've recognized that. Here you see the 6.7 the USGS is showing over in Turkey and Oklahoma with all their fracking quakes. And we drove through this area about 7 months ago, and boy, this is just loaded with fracking going through western Texas as well, going up to El Paso. And we still have swarming going on in Ridgecrest, China Lake still as well. So, things are most definitely active. As far as looking at the volcanic situation, we have new activity and unrest reported for 4 volcanoes last week. And during the same period, ongoing activity was reported for 16. So new activity in Krakatau in Indonesia, Kuchinaro Bujima over in Japan, Semeru in Indonesia, and then Taal we've been watching in the Philippines as well. 45 million people across southern Africa face hunger following natural disasters and economic disarray. And we were talking about South Sudan with like 55 million and just really a bad situation right now. Everywhere we look, it's just places that are prone to flooding are getting flooded at such an unbelievable pace. And then other places, are facing severe drought. Either way, food situation is rapidly getting to be obviously more and more serious. And all the records that we're seeing, here we see the Spain storm produced record high wave in the Mediterranean, 27.7 feet. That was a pretty big wave for the Mediterranean. And the storm surge up to 3 kilometers inland. It's just one of those things. Pick your poison as far as, where is a safe place. We've talked about that at length, and we've been talking personally, about, what we are going to do. As you guys know, we had planned to go on the road, but now we're planning on exactly the opposite and really hunkering down where we are, with everything going on, of course, with the coronavirus situation, which is just spreading faster than I think anybody ever thought it would, even in a worst case scenario. And we'll be talking about that later today too. But when you look at this, look at these waves. Now, we saw this area get hit pretty hard the previous year as well. And I remember seeing some waves hitting buildings like 6 stories high. Just incredible, splashing and the water hitting like 6 stories up. I'm sorry I'm saying it's just incredible what we're seeing. As you can see, Storm Gloria, it just trashed things again. Boats, hurled way up on the beach, flipped over. And the sea foam situation, kind of gross. All these buildings getting flooded out. I mean, just the damage. And then, of course, when they start to dry out, you got mold. And, it just makes for a mess. And obviously, mold is horrible for people's health. And look at all this flooding going on. We just see this everywhere. Every continent is getting hit with these tremendous earth changes. And as we're going to go through a few here. So, there we're looking at Spain, right? And then here we're looking at Madagascar. Floods and landslides leave at least 6 dead, widespread damage in Madagascar. And, we've seen so many main streets completely flooded. And here they're assessing the damage and the issues. And we could move on. We have widespread floods hit Mozambique, leaving at least 28 dead, more than 58,000 affected. Look at that water just pouring on down. And these guys, it looks like they're just having a nice conversation. Hopefully they won't get swept away. Amazing what we're seeing. Times of Noah. We have to adapt, and we have to really come together and get the governments of the world to work on things together instead of in opposition. So Sentinel-2 captures lava flowing from Sangay volcano in Ecuador. As you can see it from these satellite photos. Pretty cool photos, and there's video as well. Flash floods, landslides wreak havoc in Peru. So we jump over to the other side of the Atlantic, and you see, and over here in Peru's on the Pacific coast. But you go to South America, and you got the same situation happening that you have happening in Africa, that you have happening in Spain, in the Mediterranean area. And then we go down a little bit, and we see Argentina, same thing, more than 200 evacuated as floods hit northwest Argentina. And that car is in trouble. Hopefully the driver's out. And there's videos here for you guys to see as well. And here we see the International Space Station astronaut shares her view of a meteor shower over Edmonton, Canada. And, I know there are those that think this is completely done in a Hollywood studio because, it's showing curvature of the Earth, and, they don't believe in that. And then they get mad when I say that. But, it's just one of those things I can't get behind, that the Earth is flat. But I think there's too much evidence to the contrary. There's a lot of things that just don't work in a flat Earth scenario. Asteroids 2020 BK3 and 2020 BB5 both flew past Earth, one at 0.78 lunar distance and one at 0.69 lunar distance, respectively. So these were new ones that just shot by really close. And then we have a bright fireball exploding over Cyprus, where our brother Dave was born. He's going to be like, you mentioned that. So, yeah, we've seen a lot of fireballs, most definitely. And there's video there for you guys as well. I'll have all the links for you. We have heavy snow hit in Hokkaido after below average December. And this is up in Japan in the northern part. And as we were talking about with Storm Gloria, the death toll is going up to 13. And you had over 1,500 evacuated in France after 2 months worth of rain in 48 hours. And that's getting to be the norm, you know. So I was discussing that with David Dubine, you know, and so, you know, he thinks that the Southwest is probably a decent area, you know, because things are changing. We've been talking about that. Things are definitely changing, and you know, I gotta wonder, you know, how many people are going to be forced to migrate. It's already going on. We see British Columbia ski resorts celebrate record snowpack. It is beautiful to look at, most definitely. And frigid, quote unquote, conditions engulf Trinidad and Tobago. It making cold, to use a popular local phrase. Well, you know, 67 degrees Fahrenheit, I don't call that frigid by any means. But, you know, in the Caribbean, in that area, yeah, unusual? Sure, yeah, definitely unusual. But, you know, I mean, it was cold in Florida. Everybody was talking about that. So look at this. This is the year and decade of the highest U.S. state temperature records. So what do we notice? Well, you know, right down through the middle, there's a lot purple here. And these were the 1930s. That's when these states had their highest ever recorded temperatures. You know, and that includes Florida, way down here, and going up to Montana as well. 1961 for Washington. Oregon was 1898. California, 1913. Nevada, 1994. There's the Southwest had 1994, a lot of them. And, you know, it's different. So you don't see really a lot of the 2000s. And it's just an eye-opener when we hear about global warming as well. And so this is interesting. One of the brightest explosions ever seen was actually a giant star eating its neighbor. So says a new study. And so the record-setting stellar explosion, SN 2006 GY, was 50 billion times brighter than our sun. That's pretty bright. With a blast so energetic, it baffled the scientific community. Now scientists think they have uncovered what made it so incredibly bright. The explosion, which became known as a hypernova, it occurred in September 2006, some 240 million light years away in Perseus constellation. So astronomers looked in awe as the blast grew even brighter over the course of 70 days, completely outshining its host galaxy in a cosmic event hundreds of times more powerful than a standard supernova. Then to add a further intrigue to this immense detonation, scientists noticed mysterious emission lines radiating from the explosion about a year later, which could only occur if there was large amounts of iron in the area. And iron could only be really floating around if the supernova was interacting with a pre-existing stellar material, say from a previously cannibalized white dwarf. So a candidate scenario to explain this, the evolution of a binary progenitor system in which a white dwarf spirals into a giant or supergiant companion star, researchers wrote in a fresh study on the extraordinary detonation. So, interesting stuff. And it gets me thinking about Sirius and the Sirius star system, because the Dogon tribe knew that there was a star there that was not visible to the naked eye. And somehow they knew that. And when asked how they knew that, well, the gods, you know, the star people told them. So they just, you know, took it as fact. And they were right. But we didn't discover they were right till I think somewhere in the 1990s. So it's one of those amazing things that points to this fact that these legends have a basis in truth, usually. And what's your opinion on that, Cindy?
Well, I think that they're pretty amazing people because they knew these things and they kept their data intact for a very long time, which is a beautiful thing. I wish we were more like that.
Most definitely. So I thought that was fascinating. And what we see over here, cosmic gamma ray source map unveils origins of high energy particles. And it starts talking about nebula. And then this gets me thinking about these high energy areas, it's exactly what was told about these times with us entering this area that we call the photon belt, which is really, it's an area of nebula with highly charged particles. And this is actually changing our consciousness and changing our DNA and changing everything. And also instigating a lot of the earth changes that we see. So, it could be the thing that is causing the sun to do what it's doing and causing other suns to do what they're doing as we go through this whole area again. So, I just find it fascinating how these thoughts are being borne out, and it's just interesting times to live in. Exciting times for sure. And here we see mysterious particles spewing from Antarctica defy physics. So they're talking about having to rewrite our physics, which we need to do because, the standard model is kind of like the standard American diet. It's pretty damn sad. It doesn't really explain a hell of a lot. There's things that it is just completely wrong on, and we recognize it. But the thing that they don't say in this article, which is out of Live Science, because they have no explanation about these particles being shot off from Antarctica. And there again, we have all these legends and myths and rumors going around of underground bases there, perhaps still the Nazis doing experiments down there. How about the giants? There's supposed to be giants uncovered down there, and then maybe there are Nordic aliens or Draco reptilians down there as well. And maybe that's what's going on down there. Maybe that's why you can't figure out why there's these particles shooting out. People are doing experiments, and perhaps, maybe it's even our own secret space program. Could be.
It could be. I think it's really, really cool that they're going to have to rewrite physics. I've been waiting for this. And, my science teacher, where I got like so many F's on certain papers, it's like, I want those F's back. I want those to be turned into A's because I was probably right.
Yeah. And again, when we look at our education system, it's more indoctrination system because, they give us facts and things to learn and we memorize. And if we're really good at buying the BS in so many ways, then we get A's, and if we find flaws sometimes in their systems and their line of thinking, then maybe we don't get the gold star on the forehead, so to speak. But perhaps, as we've seen, so much of the physics has been in need of being rewritten, so much of the science, and perhaps a lot of the earth science as well, and perhaps a lot of our history books are completely wrong. The deeper we go into this, the more we realize that most of everything we've been taught has been, it's been missing the mark. And so that's really a sin because, that's what sin is. It's missing the mark. It's too bad. But at the same time, we're learning a lot of things now that have been hidden for a long time. So, my friends, as always, thank you for your support on Patreon and also on Ko-Fi. Come join us over there, and it keeps the channel afloat through these times of First and Second Amendment infringement that we see going on. And do subscribe to the second channel as well, EE Arts. And as always, my friends, stay prepared out there. Stay prepared. Obviously, I am so glad that we did what we have done as far as, stocking up and preparation and seeds and things like that. And still, it's not enough. I can see so many flaws, so many things that we could have done better or done more of, but it's a process. So we have to just keep learning and keep growing and keep supporting each other. As always, my friends, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.